Lean in, closer. The fire is dying, and the shadows in this jungle, they aren't like the ones back home. You think you know what an empty city looks like. You think it's just dust and silence. But Yasodharapura, the place you call Angkor, it isn't empty. It's just waiting. There's a wrongness in the air here. It hits the back of your throat before you even see the ruins. It's the smell of copper rain, that wet, iron-heavy earth mixing with the metallic tang of oxidized stone. Can you hear that? That's the cicada. Millions of them. They have these organs called tymbals on their bellies. They buckle their muscles, and the ribs of those organs click like a mechanical shutter. 120 times a second, 480 times a second. It creates a drone so thick it masks your own footsteps. The animals here, they've learned to be quiet. Only the insects scream. Look at that tree, the strangler fig, the ficus. Its roots don't look like wood. They look like poured gray candle wax or petrified muscle. It doesn't grow over the stone. It squeezes it. It ripples as it seeks out the cracks. The sandstone faces of the Bayon, they peek through curtains of moss. When the sun shifts through the canopy, those eyes appear to blink. This city didn't die. It retreated into a symbiotic silence.
The experts tell you the city was abandoned because the water failed. They talk about logistics and trade shifts, but the stones tell a different story. To understand the hunger, you have to understand the water. Angkor was a hydraulic city, miles of canals, dikes, irrigation channels. It was a machine designed to tame the tropical forest. They built reservoirs, barrages, that could hold the entire monsoon. The largest was 16 square kilometers. But water is a fickle god. In the mid-14th century, the sky turned to brass. The East Asian summer monsoon became erratic. We know this because the trees remember. In the highlands of Vietnam, there are cypress trees, Phocaenia hodgensi. Some have been growing for 1,000 years. Scientists take core samples. They look at the rings. Thick rings mean plenty. Thin rings mean death.
Imagine it. A city of 1 million people. The canals drying up, the earth cracking, the stagnant, emerald green moat water smelling of rot and ancient bat guano. The hydraulic city became its own executioner. When the rains finally came, they weren't a blessing. They were a hammer. Intense monsoons followed the droughts. The dry earth couldn't hold the water. The canals suffered meters of erosion in a single season. Silt and debris clogged the arteries of the city. The water system, the city's greatest strength, turned into a weapon of erosion, dissolving the foundations from beneath. Listen, that's the Great Hornbill, Buceros bicornis. It has a hollow casque on its head that acts as a resonator. When it calls, it's a mixture of roars and barks. When it flies, its wing beats sound like a steam locomotive starting up. Puff, puff, puff. It's a sound that's been in this jungle since the kings were here. But the people cared. They saw the drought as a judgment. They saw the stone foundations softening and pulsing. The god kings were desperate. They performed rituals to call the monsoons. They bound the city's essence so tightly to the earth that the stone itself began to crave organic matter to stay upright. The trees are not invading. They are the ruins' new veins.
They pump life into stone that had forgotten how to breathe.
You're looking at the roots again. You see them wrapped around the lintels. You think it's a struggle. You think the tree is winning. But look closer at the iron-rich red stones of the inner walls. They weep a rust-colored moisture. It stains your hands if you touch it. The city became a lithic biological hybrid. It required a constant harvest of human energy to sustain its harmony. The jungle was invited in to act as a sealant, a green cage to trap a city that had learned how to hunger. And then there are the spirits, the Nik-Ta. To the modern Khmer, these ruins are not dead. They are inhabited by ancestral spirits and protectors of the law. They are social beings. They manifest in dreams. They manipulate the weather. They possess the living. Take Nik-Ta Kleng Mong, a legendary general who sacrificed himself in a ritual to summon a ghostly army of war elephants to defeat the Siamese. His spirit still watches. But not all spirits are protectors. There is Nik-Ta Kroll. In Kampong Tom, the legends say he demanded extreme offerings. Historical records suggest human sacrifices were performed for him as late as 1904 to prevent disasters. The sharp ammonia-heavy musk of bat guano in the inner sanctums, that's the incense of the spirits. The Leper King statue, it sits on a terrace in the royal square of Angkor Tom, locally known as Priya Ponlea Stach Kumlong. Some say it's King Yasovarman I, cursed with leprosy for the sins of a past life, but the scholars think it's Yama, the god of death, the ruler of the underworld. The terrace has a hidden inner corridor. It's packed with carvings of underworld figures and mythological beings. It was a sacred path for funerary rituals, a place to prepare the dead king's spirit for the afterlife. The acoustic of those roofless galleries is strange. Sound doesn't bounce. It seems to be sucked upward into the leaves. It's as if the city is refusing to let your voice escape. You think this is all history. You think the curse is a story. On May 15, 2025, something happened at Angkor Wat. A ritual had just been performed to remove the ancient curse of Jayavarman. A few days later, a lightning strike hit the top of the temple during a ceremony. 3 people killed, dozens injured. The locals saw it as a supernatural sign, a punishment for releasing something that should have remained bound. Some said the dancers wore Thai clothing instead of Khmer clothing. Whatever the reason, the sky responded. The copper rain that followed smelled of ancient metal. The fire is out. The Khmer didn't abandon Angkor because it was failing. They abandoned it because it succeeded too well. The city became a living entity. It learned how to feed itself on the spirits of the kings and the sweat of the million who served it. The jungle didn't win. The jungle was the sealant. When you see a tree limb wrapped around a stone lintel, you aren't looking at nature reclaiming the land. You are looking at a desperate attempt to keep the stone from walking. It is traditionally taboo to remove even a pebble from this site. The stones are anchors. If you take a piece of the city takes a piece of you. The Bayan smile is still there, peeking through the moss, waiting for the sun to shift so it can blink. The laterite bleed is still wet. The hunger, it never stops. Don't stay too long after the fire goes out. The cicadas, they're getting louder. Good night.